Friday wasn't just red, it was information. Tariff headlines hit after the close and the tape cracked hard. We saw trend breaks on heavy volume, supply showing up across leadership, and the 8 and 21-day moving averages starting to roll toward a crossover. It's a reminder that when markets speak through price and volume, we listen. Welcome to Market Edge ahead of the trade. We manage profits against the 8 and 21-day moving averages and let price tell the story. Right now, most major indexes show broken trend lines, clear supply zones overhead, and momentum starting to shift. Until that changes, expect rallies to meet resistance. Now let's go to Pat Walker for the full ETF breakdown and see exactly where strength and weakness are showing up.
What sectors are weak? Those are the ones we avoid. Opposite sides of the same coin, but both sides, either side can help us make money and save money. Taking it from the top here, energy. You can always see the name right there. What do you see here? Direxia Energy Via. On the weekly, it lifted up, gave it right back. Here's a daily chart. Runs right up. How was the volume on that bar? It really wasn't that heavy. And then they take it right back down on increasing volume. At this point in time, looking at the weekly chart and the daily, it's sloppy, and it tells us something important. Be careful with energy stocks. How many of you knew that? That's why we do this. I do this every day. It helps me see, understand, hey, where's money going and where's money leaving? And we go where the money's going, and we don't impose our will on it. Love that. Let's move on. Here we go. FDN, Dow Jones Internet, it's hanging in okay on the weekly. It's trending nicely. Got hit pretty hard here on the daily. Look at that, on a big pickup in volume. Do you see this? Tells you to be cautious. All right, don't argue with it. Rallied up and reversed down again on heavy volume. It's below the 50-day. It's loose right now. Be cautious with what? Not just this ETF, but internet stocks. Let's move on. IBD 50 been trending nicely on the weekly and the same on the daily. And it got hit fairly hard here too on a pickup in volume. The trend is still up. That's good. But there was some serious selling here. Also, we don't operate in a vacuum. We take a look at a bigger picture. Well, there was some selling volume here. There was some selling volume here. And some here. Just got to be a little cautious. That's all. That's the IBD 50. It's a great proxy of growth stocks, good growth stocks. Gold miners, been a great trend here. Note the weekly base breakout here and here. Here it is on the daily. And note the trend of the ADMA. This was on the key list back here for buys. And yes, it's owned. We've sold some into strength. We're in good shape. Now, what's one slight negative here? Fell on fairly heavy volume on Thursday. It's still above the 21 EMA. The blue moving average is the 21 EMA. The yellow is the 8 EMA. And the green is the 50-day simple. Just laying that out for us. Still trending up, but we've got to watch this. Again, some selling here, some selling here. Starts to lose the 21 EMA. Yeah, we may lock in some more profit. We'll see what happens. Beautiful part, we don't have to forecast. Price and volume will tell us what to do. Gold, another one. This was on the key list for buyback here, just like GDX. There's the weekly, there's the daily. Look at the volume that was coming into it. Increasing volume on this bar, increasing volume on this bar, increasing volume on this bar, right there. Every day they're voting and buying more. Isn't that awesome? And look at the trend of the ADMA. That's the yellow moving average. Just trended the whole move, team. And this is for everybody. Trends pay. Right in here, we're letting it work. Have we sold some into strength? Yes. If it starts to lose the ADMA, we'll sell more. What's one slight concern? It fell on fairly heavy volume on Thursday, right there, on a pickup in volume. Did you see that? Heaviest volume it's had in a couple of months. Some selling volume. I'm not saying the move is over yet. We don't know. But the beautiful part at Mission Winners, we don't need to know. We let price action combined with volume action guide us. Starts to lose the ADMA, we'll lock in more profits. There we go. Hack. It's been choppy here. See that? Charts have personalities. It goes up, goes down. Goes up, reverses down. Choppy. Tail bars. Whipping all over the place. Be careful with that. Also, now it's fallen even further here on a pickup in volume. Be careful with cybersecurity stocks. Move on. Biotechnology's been a good move through here. Okay. And trending nicely. Sell some into strength. Support on the ADMA. One slight concern. I'm not saying this is over. Okay. Nobody knows the future. We just get in line with what is. But notice, fell on fairly heavy volume here on Friday. We'll see if it loses the ADMA, could lock in more profits. There we go. I buy. No, I don't think they are. I don't think I'm buying. I don't think you're buying. I think they're selling. You can see. So now this stock doesn't do a lot of volume. They spanked it pretty hard here. Online retail lost the 50-day on a pickup in volume. Be careful with online retail stocks. Expanded software technology, IGV. I always read the ticker symbol so you know. It's like, what is he looking at? I want everybody always to know where we're at. Okay, what are we talking about? Out of respect for you. Rallies up, falls, rallies up, tail bar. See this bar right here? Powerful lesson for everybody. Gaps up, runs up and reverses and closes below where it opened. Folks, it was met with selling. You can say, how can you say that? It opened and it ran up and it closed below where it opened. Sellers overtook the buyers. That's all. And since then, it's been a little choppy. Heavier selling volume right. Get rid of that. Heavier selling volume right here on the daily. And what does it tell us? Just be a little cautious. Tighten that back up again. There we go. Also, another helpful input for everybody. Have enough data that you can make relevant decisions, but don't have the bars scrunched up so high. You can't see the nuances of the open, high, low, close action. That will help you. So we'll do it right there. Let's continue onwards. Here we go. Onwards and upwards. Medicine. I think they need medicine. It's below the 50-day. I'm going to say this again. I'm really big on this. I taught this at the IBD meetups. Hey, it's below the 50-day. The air is better above a rising 50-day moving average line. Just laying it out there. Right now, it's a little sloppy. Be cautious. There's nothing to do with it. And it tells you something else. Medicine, be careful with medical stocks. Look at that. Mid-cap. iShares Core Mid-cap. You know what they call that in the business? That's called a haircut. I remember that from years ago, working with some people from New York. Yep, that's a haircut. Fell on heavy volume. Be careful with mid-cap stocks. Moving on, ITA, aerospace and defense. The trend is still up. Okay, you can see it on the weekly and the daily, but there was some selling. What's one plus? The volume was not that heavy. The selling volume was not that heavy, but that's a pretty large drop here. We need to see strength before we'd be interested in it, okay? Aerospace and defense, either the ETF or ETF, aerospace and defense stocks. Home construction, nah, there's nothing to build on there, is there? Leave it alone. Stay away from home builders. S&P 500 growth got spanked pretty hard. The trend is still up. It's still above the rising 50-day. That's good, but they hit it pretty dang hard here, okay, on volume. And until you start to see some strength in various sectors and the markets, err to the side of caution here. Please, this is important. We have to control risk. And one of the best ways to control risk is control ourselves. We don't impose our will on the markets. We don't think. And I said this at IBD meetups, and if I was wrong, then it yanked me off the stage. Please don't think you got to be doing something. You got to be buying every day. No, wait for good setups in good markets with good price and volume action. Have the discipline to wait for that. You'll make more money with less hassle and lose less money too. IWM small caps fell fairly hard on a pickup in volume. We need to see some strength in this, okay, before we get involved to buy more small caps. IYR, look at real estate. This is why we do this. Just chopping around on the weekly. Tail bars all over the place on the daily. Have we been involved in real estate stocks for a while? No, we haven't. There's no need to. It was telling you to leave me alone. We're just basing. We're not moving. We're not going up. So we just left them alone. Haven't been involved. IYT, transportation, was basing very nicely and got spanked pretty hard here on the weekly on a pickup in volume. Lost the 50-day on a pickup in volume. Tells you to be cautious with transportation stocks. Please know this, folks. I'm not being bearish. I'm not getting all negative. I'm just reporting what is. That's all. It's like yelling at the weatherman because the weatherman says it's going to rain. It's just the reality. It's going to rain. Okay. Or jumping up and down when the weather says it's going to be sunny. Oh, just get in line with what is. Although I do prefer sunshine. Here we go. Global jets right here. ETF. Nothing going on there. Be careful with airline stocks. Go faster here for you. Oh, look at the banks. See, this is a big lesson right here, folks. Financial stocks. When you see financial stock, this is a fact. When you see financial stocks acting ragged, be careful, because finance stocks impact not just the finance stocks. It tells you something about the financial situation of the market. Okay, so at this time, be a little cautious, not just with this ETF. We're not in it. We haven't been in it, but also the markets in general. Continue onward. Insurance related to financials, kind of sloppy. Still a little bit, below the rising 50-day, but it's kind of loose here. Be careful with that. Regional banking. What did I just talk about? Oh, yeah, you mentioned financial stocks, Pat. You think banks, financial? Yeah, look at that. It's falling on volume. Be cautious with the regional banking. Yeah, we don't own it. Mid-cap, still basing here, okay? It needs to take out these tops. I'll draw this to help you. For us to be even interested in this, we need to take out just basically across these tops here with volume. Now, analyzing price and volume, and emission winners, we're big on it. This is what I taught at the meetups. Look what it did here. Look at the selling volume on that bar. In fact, look at the volume on that bar versus all these bars going back a month and a half. That's pretty good volume on this bar. This volume was heavier than that bar. Tells you to be a little cautious with mid-cap. There we go. There it is. Continue on. Oil services, stay away. Falling on heavy volume below the 50-day. I'm going to say this again for everybody's sake. Be careful with stocks below the 50-day moving average line. You will dramatically improve your investing results if you key on strength on stocks that are above a rising 50-day moving average line. You will improve your investing results. That's not an opinion. That's a fact. There you go. Continue onwards. Pharmaceuticals is hanging in here. Lifted up pretty good. Okay. Big tail bar there on volume. Big reverse bar. Look at that volume, selling volume. Dropping here a little bit. It's still above the moving averages, and that's good. Okay. And down on low volume. It's kind of a defensive kind of stock too, isn't it? Defensive industry. Pharmaceuticals. So nothing really to do with it, but there is a base forming here. Something maybe to watch going forward. It's not, I just showed you a bunch of charts that look awful. Okay. That one doesn't look that bad, does it? There we go. QLD, NASDAQ 100. Not so good. Gaps up, runs up, reverses down. Heavy selling volume. Be cautious with that, folks. All right? Be cautious. And don't try to, this is important. Ego can get in the way of our decision-making, sound decision-making processes. Please be careful. Again, don't impose your will. Don't try to catch the bottom. That's like I said, that's an ego deal. I call it the bottom. No. Get in line with strength and ride trends. Buy strength, ride trends. That will help you a lot. And never argue with price. Yeah, I'm harping it, but it's a fact. QQQ, same situation. Retailing, they ain't buying it. I think it's on sale. If it really plummets, you'd call that a fire sale. No. There's nothing to do with retail stocks. Stay away. Cloud computing, now that one doesn't look too bad. Look at this. That thing's dropping like a rock. Cloud computing doesn't look too bad. Going across these tops. Right here. Fell, but not on really heavy volume. So this one's still intact. What could we do? You can punch up SKYY, top 10 holdings, do a Google search on it, and you may find some strength in there someplace. That's what we do at Mission Winners. Systematize. Be organized and capitalize off it. Silver. Look at that nice move in silver. We talked about the gold. Yeah, we own those ETFs. Look at this move too. Silver and gold. Precious metals. Note the trend of the 8 EMA. Now you can say, well, that doesn't help me at all, Pat. I don't own it. But successful people turn a negative into a positive. Well, I don't own it. I'm pissed. But the good thing is this. You can say, yeah, but now I know what to look for next time. You'll be that much better. There you go. It's trending nicely. Don't buy it up here. Okay, you're chasing price. But note the trend. Trends pay more than all the decisions you'll make. That's a fact. Steel. Steel was acting fine. But notice this. I'm going to show you a great education here, folks. Oh, it's running on up. Oh, it gapped up and it reversed down, closed right near the lows on a daily chart on heavy selling volume. It was telling you, and price was extended. Hey, You might want to be careful with me. You should sell some into strength. Don't argue with it. Okay. Boom. Look what it does. And smart money knew to take action on that bar. Sell some. Follows through. Take the rest of the game and you're done. Nothing to do with it at this point in time. Be careful with steel stocks. Moving on. Semiconductors still trending up. Got hit fairly hard on Friday. Be careful with semiconductor stocks. Does have support on the 21-day. Just kind of watch it. Same thing's true with SOXL. Spiders got spanked hard. I love to look at the spiders and the Qs. Great representation of the overall market. Big NASDAQ 100 stocks and the S&P 500. 500 stocks, not 30 like the Dow. But man, it got spanked hard on Friday on volume. Let it settle down. Let the dust settle. Continue onwards. SSO, same situation. Be careful. Solar fell fairly hard on Friday. Still above the rising 21-day, but it needs to show some strength. TNA, small cap, same situation. Uranium started to lift it up, and then it tailed off. This is a classic example, folks. If you had owned this, I teach this at the Mission Winners site all day, every day with our members. You get a run up and it starts to fade off the highs, sell some off, sell some into strength. Accept the fact you're not going to sell at the top, but you'll make some money. If it starts to fall, you take some off. Sell 20%, whatever. Keeps falling, sell another 20%. And a rock solid foundation. Never let a good profit turn into a loss. Never. Cardinal sin. We don't do that. USO, there ain't nothing good there. Leave it alone. Aerospace and defense rallied up pretty nice, but there's some increase in selling volume until it shows some strength. Be careful. If you owned it, was rallying up, see that big reversal bar there? It gaps up, runs up, and reverses down. That is a useful selling bar to take some off. There you go. Not all of it. You can buy in pieces and you can sell in pieces. However, if something's dropping really hard, you sell it all. XAR, aerospace and defense recovered. XBI, technology, biotechnology. Now that's got a nice trend to it, but it fell on fairly hard volume. If you own it, you'd sell some. If it loses the ADMA, you sell some more. We always have a plan, and that helps us. We're about done here. XHB home builders. Notice this. It rallies up, not on heavy volume. Look at the bar. There's not really heavy volume. Then it starts to roll down. Runs up here, and then they take it right back down. Runs up here and reverses down on a pickup in volume. Inside bar, but didn't even move halfway into this bar, this down bar. What's the trend? The trend is down. Rallies up here to the 50-day and then rolls over again. Home builders, be cautious. And how do you build a home? With materials. See how you can connect the dots? Mission Winners, we're looking for themes. Home builders are weak. Well, how do you build stuff? How do you build a house? With materials? Weak. Communications. I guess it's like a Led Zeppelin song, Communications Breakdown. Okay, I'm sorry, I had to say it. Saw them perform that in concert, by the way, years ago, decades ago. Nothing to do with it. Leave it alone. XLE, energy. Yeah, I think it needs some more power. Stay away from energy. Financials, look at this. This is important. Financials, big part of the market, got hit hard. And again, I'm not saying, oh gosh, it's the end of the world. I'm just saying be a little cautious. That's all. And don't argue with price. And you shouldn't be really heavily exposed here. The market's been telling us. XLI, industrials, look at that. And then this is why we do this. We build a case on, is there strength or weakness in the market? I'll continue onward. XLK was doing great. We're heavy in technology. We've been selling into strength, especially right in bars like this on heavy volume. Be cautious. Not saying it's over, just be a little cautious. XLP hasn't been strong in a long time. I mean, look at this. Look at the trend on XLP on the weekly. Isn't that nice? And you go to this one, you say, ain't nothing here. It's just chopping back and forth. You're exactly right. You try to get wrapped up in stuff like this, you know what will happen? You'll get chopped up. Buy strength. Wait for strength on weekly and daily. I used to say this at the IBD meetups, folks. What you're looking at here is a chart program. It can quickly turn into a video slot machine if you let it. Don't. Please. XLU, defensive related. Isn't that interesting? and it's had a decent trend. Nothing really to do with it, but it tells you something. Okay, utilities. You don't need a lot of different things, but you got to have energy. True, you got to have gas. You got to have electricity. More of a defensive sector, and it's acting fine. Don't do anything with it, but it's told us money's moved more into a defensive posture. That's why we do this, to show things. Healthcare still hanging in. A little bit of selling on Friday. Be careful with it. Consumer discretionary got spanked hard. Be cautious with consumer discretionary. Also, tied in, it's a broad brushstroke with the market. Be overall cautious with the markets. XME has been a great run. What do we have? We're heavy in gold, as I told you earlier. Really, the trend is great. Heavy selling volume on Friday. See this trend? When you get a reversal bar like this, where it gaps up and reverses down and closes in the bottom third of its range, that's a good tactic to sell some. The next day, Friday, it gaps up, it runs down, runs up, and then starts to reverse down on a pickup in volume. What does it tell you? You sell some more. And notice, we're just looking at day charts. We're not looking at 10-minute charts. We're not micromanaging. Really helps us a lot. Continue. XOP, ooh, oil and gas, that ain't so good. That's, what does that tell you? Be careful with oil and gas exploration stocks. Retailing is on sale. Stay away from retail. Software was acting okay, but it's gotten really choppy up here. Good lesson. Runs up, they take it down. Oh, if it starts to lift again, how is the volume on that bar? It was low. Take it right back down. Starts to run up again, gaps up, reverses down. At this point, be a little cautious with software and technology. There we go. And now we go back up to the top. That is a video overview of the ETFs. Now, what does it show us? What does it tell us? Right here, there's just not a lot of strength in many sectors. Could it change this week? Well, sure it could. And what do? Again, the best part, we just get in line with it, and that helps us.
Let's talk about what this kind of market is really telling us. When the line that connects the recent lows gives way, that's a simple message. The trend has changed. At that point, we stop treating it like an uptrend and start managing risk. No panic, no prediction, just discipline. We also look for something that often confirms the shift. A supply bar, sometimes called a buyer shutoff. That's one large red bar that wipes out several smaller green bars. It means buyers have stepped aside and sellers are taking control. Those areas usually become resistance on the next bounce, and that's where rallies often stall. The next piece is momentum. When the 8-day moving average turns down and crosses below the 21-day, that crossover signals a deeper change in tone. If the crossover hasn't happened yet, we wait. If it does confirm, that kind of weakness can last for weeks, not just days. So right now, the playbook is simple. Reduce position size, sell into strength, protect gains, and stay flexible. We don't have to be the hero who calls the bottom. We just respond to what price and volume tell us. And if leadership is going to show new strength, we'll see it first in the max list.
And now let's move on to the stocks. Here's Apple. Apple was facing very nicely here, okay, on the daily, but then it lost bottoms here, and I'll draw this to help you. And the charts, this is another good lesson. Doesn't need to be a fancy, perfect, every point touches that line. Just a simple flat consolidation, and it fell through it on a slight pickup in volume. We sold the rest of our Apple here and locked in our gains. There we go. And I think we sold the rest of it. I'd have to double check. But you can see where going across this bottom here, you sell some on a pickup in volume. It's no high stress. It's no high drama. Again, price combined with volume action. Amazon was rallying nicely and got spanked really hard on Friday on a pickup in volume. Now it was in a downtrend on the weekly, and it rallied right up here to that downtrend line. And here, rallies up. One positive lesson here, and we turn negatives into positives. Studying the charts. It was rallying here, and I'm going to take this over one bar. It was rallying. It was going up. How was the volume? It wasn't heavy. There wasn't heavy institutional buying. You can see it in the charts. Admission winners, again, we combined price and volume. It's telling you to be cautious with it. And again, that's Amazon. I love Amazon, okay? And they spanked it pretty hard on a pickup in volume. What do? You manage it. You don't argue with it. You don't fight it. Live to play another day. Continue onwards. Get that right. There we go. And we go to the next chart. Alibaba was a great trend on the weekly, was a monster trend on the daily. Okay. And yes, when it starts to do this, we sell some into strength as it starts to fall, knowing you're not going to get the top. Okay. And then if it loses the ADMA, you sell more. Keeps falling, you sell more. If not, the rest of it. What do we do now? We just watch it and see what happens. It's been a real market leader, one of the best in the entire market of all stocks. I mean, look, you can't deny the trend. Check this out. We had a breakout here. We'll call it 125. 125 to 190. That's huge money. Massive money. Now we just watch and see what happens. We're in good shape. Continue onwards. Baidu, same situation, sister stock. Look at the weekly run on Baidu. Look at the weekly run on Baba. And again, I call them sister stocks. There we go. Got hit pretty hard on Friday. And again, on volume, on increasing selling volume, be a little careful here. Just be a little cautious. Google was basing. Still has a good trend from back here. We did this. We sold some. We'll watch and see what happens. Fell. What's the one plus? Didn't fall on really heavy volume on Friday. That's good. It's still in a consolidation base right here. I'll draw this just to help you. They say a picture is worth 1,000 words, and I like to explain this, illustrate. Just basing here. We'll watch and see what happens. What's it going to do Monday? I don't know. Nobody knows the future. Here's a beautiful part. Accepting that reality helps us think clear. It's going to tell us what to do. Just combining the price action, adding volume into the thought-making thought processes. Continue onward. Goldman Sachs rallied up, fell. It's got to be a little cautious with this. Here's a perfect example why. When you get a reversal bar like this, look at this tail bar. It gaps up, it runs up, and closes below where it opened. It's a big lesson right here, folks. You see the open on this? See the close? It was met with selling pressure. It was a top. When you see something like that, that is a big warning sign to take action, get lighter. You don't have to sell it all, but be aware of it. And since then, it's just been steadily drifting down. Be cautious. Be cautious. Might have support on the 50-day. We'll watch and see, but it did fall in fairly heavy volume on Friday. Continuing onwards, here we go. MasterCard, what do you say? Yeah, they're charging ahead. Yeah, they're charging to the downside. Leave it alone for right now. There's nothing to do with it. We haven't been in it for a while, and there's nothing to go. Meta, haven't been in it for a while either. We had a great run through here, okay, on the weekly, but then it started to get toppy here. And you can see it on the daily. This high right here starts to drop. What do? If you own it, you get out and don't argue with it. This is a beautiful thing. I'll say it again. We don't have to forecast it. We just let price and volume guide our actions. FBL, the leveraged meta, nothing there. Leave it alone. Microsoft started to lift up through that line on decent volume, but then gave it right back. When you see action like this, again, please don't argue with it. Get in line with it. Say, it broke out. This sounds simple, but it's very profound. The best breakouts don't fail. This broke out. It failed. Don't argue with it. And think about that. We're just letting price guide us. No power stress here. Just watch with him. We don't have to impose our will on the price action either. Also, as far as imposing will, this is important too. I'm looking at weekly and daily charts. Weekly on the left, daily on the right. Please, I'll say it again. Please be careful taking this down. 10-minute charts, 5-minute charts. Be careful with that. Do I ever look at 10-minute charts? Yes, I do, and our VIPs know about it. If its stock is near a breakout price or approaching a breakout point and it's early in the morning, I'll take it down to 10 minutes to look for that volume surge. Volume surge buying. Tells us other people see what we see, institutions see it, and by Jove, they're buying it. Nothing to do with it now, just pointing that out. Continue onwards. Netflix starts to lift up and tails off here a little bit. It's basing decently on the weekly, okay, but it is kind of loose and whippy on the daily, all right? So be careful. Again, weekly on the left, daily on the right. Bit of a tail bar here. There's some topping bars right here. Runs up and reverses down. I'm going to pick up in volume. And again, what's the first letter in Mission Winners? M. What does M stand for? Markets. Mission, markets, industries, sectors, stocks, institutional support, outstanding management, outstanding product, outstanding service. And the N, never say never. Mindset's a huge part of this game. Let's move on, shall we? NVIDIA was running nice and then got spanked pretty hard. We didn't argue with it. We locked in more. Okay, we own some from down here too. Okay, now if your first buy was up here, you sold some into strength and then you don't let a profit turn into a loss. If you own it from lower, got some down in here, you can give it a little bit more room, but still sell some. Take a little bit off. There we go. Nothing to do with it right now. NVDL, same situation. Tesla started to go, but there's nothing there. Tesla from down here, look at the base on the daily. Look at the base on the weekly. Is that beautiful? Note the volume pickup on this bar and the follow through on this bar. That is how money is made. That was more than a 100-point profit right there, folks. Yes, it was on the key list. It works. I'm going to think this a bit so you can see what I'm talking about. It's just a nice base. Look at the volume surge on this bar pushing through the top and then the follow through on this bar. I'll make this bigger so you can see what I'm talking about. There we go. Sells into strength help us. Now we watch it and see there's no real clean pattern at this point in time. Just wanted to share that with you. PSLL, leverage one, same situation. Visa ran up, faded, really nothing to do with it. Dell, I put this one on here, just kind of choppy up here, lifted up, little loose. Is showing some strength up here. It didn't take out yesterday's lows. Something maybe watch going forward. And then we go back to the top. That is a video overview of the MAXLIST stocks. I lean on these stocks for decision making, for money making. I hope this helps you. This is a training coaching video. This is what we do in Mission Winners. We try to show people how to make money. We make a key list every day, except for Saturday, for Sunday. Make a key list every day the night before so you don't get things in the morning. We're 100% ready, prepared the night before so we can walk in the morning when the markets are going to open with a clear head and a good game plan.
That wraps up this week's Market Edge. While you're here, hit subscribe and tap the bell. For deeper coaching in the key list, visit missionwinners.com. Master your strategy, trust the process, and maintain your edge.
I am here in the middle of nowhere. There is no there, it is cold there, but I am safe and I am warm. Although it's hard, I know